Ibrahim, question. A lot of people will even be asking, is it too much burden some of the civil servants serving in Ondo State, considering the issue of minimum wage and those who have retired and their pay? Some of them will say that it's been a long time they got them.
Well, the number of civil servants that we have in the state is even below the expectation of what we're supposed to have. If you're going to drive innovation, you need more people to be at work. It's unfair, it's unjustifiable to say that you will pay 18,000 to workers. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. In my company where I have my group, the entry level is 75,000 naira. So I'm going to certainly increase the minimum wage salary for the workers.
How soon would you do that?
Yeah, I'm going to do it immediately, because I've told you before now that we're going to have 20 billion coming from infrastructure compliance. I've told you we're going to have 2.5 billion naira from Ondo. We have 4 to 5 billion coming from federation accounts. Let me tell you, Sheon, it's about leadership. It's about management. It's about creating resources. You cannot use workers that are hungry to come and create resources. If you improve the welfare of the workers, they multiply their productivities, government become expanded, microeconomic resilience become visible, and poverty begins to disappear from the society. So to me, as a governor of Ondo State, over my dead body, my driver collects 75,000 naira a month. There is no any staff of Ondo State that will be collecting 18,000 in a month.
Quickly,
sorry, come to your pension. The argument about pension, because you are the two other contestants. Now on pension, it's also unfair to allow people to collect pension that they go when they retire in 1980, which is about 10,000 naira, when you have increased the salary of the civil service. So we must increase the pension salary proportionate to the adjustment that we have in our balance sheet. So we're going to increase their pension collection up to date and bring them.
Thank you. Quickly onto education. I will start with you, Dr. Agunloye. Pupils in Ondo State's primary mega schools currently pay 3,000 naira per term. Free education was introduced in Western Nigeria in 1955. What is your party's position on this?
On what?
Education. If pupils in Ondo State primary mega schools currently pay 3,000 naira per term, what's your party's position on this?
Let me make one quick one on the minimum wage. I believe minimum wage should be
increased. It's part of your time.
But I know that, but not to increase everybody's own, which makes it impossible to pay minimum wage. So you need to understand that. If you increase the minimum wage to 75,000, for instance, the PAMSEC will be asking his own to be increased to 1.5 million, then it will be too heavy. That education has to be qualitative, and that there is enough money in the system, if it is not squandered, to be and free education for some group of people with the age, like in the primary school, in the secondary school. That of course the issue of bursary, and I know that when you are threatened, you take very decisive measures. But I will also, as governor, address the issue of cattle. I produce my cattle, I make sure that Ondo State produces the cattle. So if you have to bring your cattle to Ondo State, it will be to come and greet the cattle that we already provide here. But I will also be very tough on the issue of security, but noting that injustice provides basis for insecurity, and I will make sure that the state provides justice at all levels.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Ibrahim, issues of security, very important.
Yes.
Let's take it from the question of herdsmen and how you will handle it.
Well, the issue of security, to me, in my campaign, I've said that, you look, armed robbery takes place in a community. Stealing takes place in a community. In that community, seated is an Oba. So the traditional rulers will be giving gross 5% of state allocation for them to stabilize their communities in time of security. If we take it from that, We are also going to fund the government-established security institutions. We are not creating a new one. Then let me assure you of that. But we are going to ensure that we fund the police. We fund the Directorate of State Security Services. They need funding. They need new vehicles. You can't use Volkswagen to pursue armed robber that is driving a jeep. That is disaster. So this clustering disaster will remove. The policy of our government, when I take over the government, is that we are going to use 5% of the state gross allocation. Just a minute. State gross allocation coming from federal accounts, we hand it over in cash to the traditional institutions for them to prevent, to manage security and development in their
Some
areas.
people have criticized the issue of security votes.
Yes.
Some people say it's a fraud. Do you think so?
I don't actually need security vote. Well, I'm not going to take state money to be protecting myself under the ambit of that's fraud, that's corruption, because it's unaccountable. You don't even know how many people are spending on security vote. If other people are not protected, how can you be spending billions on yourself to be protected? If I stabilize the system generally, then I'm free within the system, just like everybody is free within the system. So my government will not spend 1 naira for governor security vote. No.
Thank you.
Abolished.
Mr. Olushola, okay. I'll take it in batches, and the first one is issue of herdsmen. Do you, how would you handle it? That's one. Two, do you also believe in the issue of security vote, or you also think that it's a fraud?
Thank you very much. The menace of herdsmen, I believe as governor, the first thing is to convoke a stakeholders meeting to fashion out the way to minimize the menace of herdsmen in the state. If we can, through dialogue, diplomacy, and negotiation, reduce the menace, that will be my policy. But when it gets out of hand and it's becoming, it's been elevated to trauma, then government legislative measures may be taken to ensure that we protect the people of the state. But I think it has not become a serious issue as to warrant a legislation. So what I would do is to engage the stakeholders to ensure that we bring in maximum fairness and minimum bitterness in handling the matter between the parties. Security vote, I do not believe it should be abolished. There are things a governor does to protect the citizens of the state, and security matters cannot go through bureaucracy. What has been wrong is the amount of money that has been committed to it and the way it has been spent recklessly. As governor, I will still retain the issue of security vote. I will reduce the amount of money involved, and I will ensure transparency and accountability in the disbursement of the fund. There are things that happen overnight. You will need money to do it. So I'll retain it.
All right. Thank you so much. We go for another short break, and when we return, more on the major issues which affect the people of Ondo State, and this man will be talking to us more. Join us again.